Okay, well, this is one of my first meetings with Meet the Authors. I love books. Um, I don't like to read as much, so I like the cheap versions. But kind of tell us a little bit, and actually, so I'm gonna put the book up there, Deepest Valley, and tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what inspired the book. And I just kind of want to hear some of your thoughts. And
Joel, it's you don't like to read, I don't like to write, and it's I just it's amazing how God works in your life. And before the Deepest Valley, that we are we are blessed, and sometimes we don't understand those blessings until later in life. But obviously, I grew up in a small town. Very close class, as you well know, 44 in our graduating class. Just raised very humbly, and then through life, we go through some of these stages, ups and downs, valleys, whatever we want to call them, and some of them seem a little bit worse than others, and we hope we learn through those valleys. And I was worked my way up through the grocery ranks in the bakery industry. Just I started out frying donuts and worked my way up to into some executive roles and some partnerships and some businesses. But what really affected me, in my life is obviously my faith, and my family, my wife, and our kids were, we've been very blessed, and we've also been tested, and you go through these valleys and you hope you learn. Well, I love the daily devotion. I've been blessed with a good church, and in the daily devotions, I was going through a Tony Dungy with my son, and we finished it up, and I needed another devotional book. Well, a long story short, I picked up Our Daily Wisdom, and anyway, it's a devotion that makes you journal. Had a nice leather cover. I really was. If I would have seen where it said journal, I probably wouldn't have bought it. So, but anyway, so I had started journaling, Joel, and I didn't. I was never a good writer. I was never a good in English. The classes throughout, but the power of the Holy Spirit works within us, and I was just taking some little steps, and with a family we were doing well. The kids were growing, and it was probably 4 months into it, I was diagnosed, Joel, with stage 4 cancer. PSA was extremely high, the highest the doctor's ever seen. And it was one of those things where you were shocked. I mean, I was shocked. I couldn't tell my wife. My wife was traveling with my daughter in volleyball for a couple of days. I was traveling with my older son, going to football camps and baseball, and so I had like a 3 or 4 day period there where I found out that I had most likely had cancer. My PSA was the highest ever. The doctor, we had to schedule things. I had to jump in a car, leave Northwest Arkansas, drive to Wichita, and I felt so alone and understanding and shocked of hearing, okay, cancer. I didn't know what PSA was. It wasn't in my family. So those 3 days I'll never forget, that they really just put me back. And of course, I went to Google. And I tried to Google and find better answers. My doctor told me to get my things in order. it's just not, it's not good. And, after you Google so many times, you feel like, I might as well rolled over and just died. I mean, it was bad. And I couldn't tell anybody really because I didn't want to talk to my wife on the phone about the situation. So, that's how I was introduced to my deepest valley. And obviously, we got together, talked with my wife, scheduled some the biopsies and everything, went through that. But that's how my deepest valley started, and the writing part of it started in that journaling in my daily devotional.
Okay.
And so that's sort of how the book came to be. But it was as you go through that, Joel, and I we've talked a little bit about, but faith, family, and friends, and the power of what the Lord and the Holy Spirit does, preparing you for these things that you're not even aware about. But I look back and we were prepared with, we just enrolled our kids into a private Christian school. We were going to the church, switched church, and the power of those family and the friends around you and the support they bring you. And I was journaling, so I was sharing. People are asking, of course, how you doing. And so what I did is I would as we started to play offense with chemo and all the drugs and started fighting the battle, I would find myself journaling because I couldn't sleep, and if I didn't keep my mind occupied, I would go dark on worrying about things, and the pity parties and all those things. So I started journaling, and that's how the book came to be. I've journaled through the heartache of cancer. But it's, and each week it's people would send me different verses. They would call, check on me, and I got into this habit of writing down verses, quotes, or just conversations from friends and family, and they became a part of this journal. And so that's really how it all started. Never intended to be a book, Joel, but out of the blue, I had a gentleman. Well, it's the story is really the whole story is a God story, but there's so much we learned through that suffering. Now, not all at the time. I mean, obviously there was a lot of heartache. The telling of the family was difficult. Understanding that, all the things that you might miss. And I will tell you, there was a lot of pity, and there was a lot of worry and anxiety that tried to take over. But, and those were the battles that we had to fight, as a family, as a person, and, being the father and, the husband and that stuff, and trying to lead a family and being worried is not always easy, but had great support. And so in that, I changed my job, and I had a gentleman that had just seen my profile on LinkedIn, and his ad thing just sort of randomly picked my profile and sent me an invitation for a call, and he was wanting to write a book. Well, he was wanting to write a book about my professional career. And so it was pretty persistent. And finally, I ended up calling and talked to the gentleman, and he was from Northwest Arkansas. It was really a coincidence. And through that, I was still trying to figure out which friend is pranking me, or, when it comes to, like, okay, somebody's playing a prank here, trying to get this thing or joke. But anyway, so I met with the gentleman. He's a ghostwriter, Jeff Miller. And we had coffee, and I got to know him, understand him. Good man, good Christian man. And it was sort of odd on how that all happened. But so with that, we had many cups of coffee, and one afternoon I was running a little late. I said, "Hey, I got to run. I've got to go see Janice," uh, and I sort of explained how I met Janice and how she's been a blessing to me in my life and in her struggles. And he started asking more questions. I got little it just seemed a little weird. And he goes, Janice Huffman. And I said, yes. Well, so anyway, I'm headed to Janice's house. Gave her, had her, I took a coffee and we had there, and I said, Janice, Jeff Miller said to tell you hello. And 2 years ago, Janice was the one of the friends that kept on saying, I got a guy that can help you. I've got a guy that can help you write a book and turn this into a book. You must turn it into a book. That guy was Jeff Miller.
Wow.
So it's one of those things, Joe, where you say, I don't want to write a book. I don't want to write a book. It's not meant for a book. It's just me putting my feelings down. So it reminds me through the week that, hey, I can get through this. I can get through this. I'm strong, or I can turn over my worries and anxiety in my journal and leave it to the Lord. And anyway, we all are led, and this is one of those things where I felt really led to put it into a book. And so I had turned over all my journals, and I think at that point in time there was about 800,000 words. It's probably well over now. Well over 1 million words. In the journal as a total. But what we did is we took those journals, Joel, and we turned it into. Jeff helped me structure it into a book. And that's The Deepest Valley. So, that's, Joel, how it came to be. And it's, it's one of those things that you never, imagine writing a book or being an author, but never doubt how the Lord will use you. And if you trust him. And the amazing thing to me that has taught me, I trust him, right? I trust him, but it's amazing what happens when you trust him when you're at rock bottom and you're in that deepest valley, and you turn your trust over, how he will take the suffering, the pain of cancer, the anxiety of, having 6 months maybe to live. And that was over 7 years ago.
Wow.
And what can be done with it when you really truly put your faith into the Lord and trust your prayers and the prayers of your friends and family. So it's been one of those things, as you and I sort of talked. I just, I wrote the book. I've just sort of it's been out there. It did hit number one on its release in devotionals on Amazon. There's a lot, that's why that was sort of exciting, but it's always been our motto is this, we're the letting the book be what it is, and it's in the Lord's hands, right? It's not like we're putting a bunch of marketing behind it. It's not really, that's not really what it's meant for. It's just meant for faith, family, and friends, and to get through the deepest valley and understand that there is power when you put your faith in the Lord. And we're not meant to do it alone, Joel. That is one of the main things that I think I really found through this is, we've got to be prepared. We've got to have our faith. We got to have our church. We got to have small groups. We got to be connected. And guys just, women do a good job of connecting with friends and staying connected with coffees or lunches and that stuff. guys, we worry about the career, we worry about supporting the family, we worry about this stuff, but we have to be connected to our brothers and to our sisters in Christ and be prepared for those moments and have that support, because at some point we're all going to go through suffering.
Right. Yep.
And I will tell you, when I found out I had cancer, I was blessed because I was a part of a men's group, and that men's group, I will never forget the day they put their hands on me and prayed for me. And I felt the warmth go through my body. I felt the Holy Spirit within us. And I knew I was not alone. I knew it was a hard fight. I knew it was going to not to be easy, but I knew I was not alone. And I knew, you know, there's comfort, there's strength in understanding that, hey, I can ask for prayer.
Mhm.
I can ask for, I don't have to go at this on my own. And I think the book sort of shows that, and so, it's a journal through, a lot of my thoughts, week by week through the battle, and it touches a lot of different points, uh, and not all good, but it's how we, life's not fair, and we are meant to suffer. And the one thing that I think I'd heard lately, Joel, from one of the sermons at church was, I think suffering is a part of the path to glory,
Mm.
and we come out on that other side. And I know, Joel, you've experienced that yourself, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Right.
and one of the guys in the men's group said, "Hey, Dan, you're going to be a better man. I'm a better man after cancer." And well, this was just like as I was diagnosed in the middle of chemo. And I think, in our men's group, I think we were going to kick the coffee table out of the middle of the room. And I think him and I were going to go at it. I mean, I wasn't ready to hear that.
Yeah.
It was like, how could you say cancer is making me better?
Mhm.
And I had to, apologize to Pete because I was soon to find out it has made me a better person. And it's because we understand that whole thing, in our weakness, we've never been stronger when our faith is right and we're on the right path with our friends and family, and we trust the power of prayer. And that's not just for Joel, that's not just for us in a battle of cancer.
Mhm.
That's got to be our motto every day. We get up and we got to be ready.
Mhm.
And uh, you know, there was another there, there was another we worry sometimes about others and stuff, and we can get petty and stuff, and we get the pity party going. But it's like I really realized that I had to fix myself. It was my attitude. Okay, am I going to hit this head on, or am I going to sit there and have that pity party? Because at the same time, Joel, we have those groups, or we have those friends that will join us in that pity party, join us in this is unfair. How could this happen to you? And you can sit there and dig that hole as deep as you want, but at some point you got to realize, life's not fair. There's a reason, and you have to trust it's His God plan. It's His will for your life, and it's going to make us better. And so I was very fortunate that I was, the family was in a good position. The kids, it was rough on the kids, but they were in a private school. They had a lot of prayer surrounding them in school. And not only was the school, the Christian school was a part of it, but also that transformed from the kids in their athletics and in their classes, but also were part of our Sunday services, our small groups. So we were extremely blessed to be connected and surrounded by a lot of prayer. And to help us get through the cancer side of it. But I just it's one of those things where uh, uh, you hope you can share in life, and that's one of the things where we have to share what the power of the love of Jesus can do for us. And there's a lot of stuff going on, and we can get caught up in a lot of this the darkness. But man, if we just sit back and understand the power in our prayers, the power in the Lord, and trusting, it got me through. The worldly view gave me 6 months to live.
Yeah.
And Google, I mean, it was just there. But I to this day I don't Google. I mean, I won't now. I've gone through some, since the battle. It was 7 years ago, and since that battle, about a year ago, I had another bout of it with, some of the prostate cancer came back on my C5 and my spine. I went through 5 stages of radiation. And I hardly even remember that, Joel, but it's because you get, as you fight and you have that playbook of those around you, and you're established in the power of prayer, the support groups, where to run, you've done this, you've been through this, we can get through it. And I sit back, and it's almost, it's one of those things where you look like, oh, I did have to go through radiation, God, that was over a year and a half ago already. Well, it's because when I had to go through the chemo, and it was bad, and then I went through a 3 treatments of Provenge treatments and stuff, and it wakes you up, and I really, my faith was strong, but man, I'm just a different person. I understand, that it's surrendering, trusting and obeying the Lord, and the power that truly brings us, and it makes you want to share it. So that's where we share in the deepest valley, that story, I guess, journal by, chapter. I don't know if you call it chapter or what, but it's just sort of topics that we go through in the book.
Mhm.
And then that I hope help people in their, because we all have the valleys.
Yeah.
We all have the valleys.
This is my copy,
Yes, sir.
which I read probably a year and a half ago. I actually did read the whole book. And the one chapter that really sticks out is suffering is helping me fix myself. And
Yes.
you want to talk a little bit about what inspired that part of your journaling? And
So Joel, there were things within our lives that happen that as we get better with age. Hopefully, we learn and we grow. And before I was diagnosed with cancer, I'd lost my. I got laid off at Sam's, a job I loved. I was very good at it, and I loved it. But there was a big layoff. It's in 2009. Everybody thought I was going to get promoted and stuff. But anyway, it's just one of those corporate deals where it's not good to have happen to you, and it's not good for them to have to do. But it was just something that needed to be done, and I was laid off. And that was the family was not prepared for it, and there were some things going on, and I didn't really know what I was going to do, and because I was, like I said, I was good at it, I loved it, and there could have been some extremely hard feelings, but I had to channel that somewhere else, and some of the best advice I've gotten was fix yourself, right?
Mhm.
Don't worry about those things that happened to you. Don't worry about the wrongs of that could have been or whatever. But he goes, just look inside. And if you focus on fixing yourself and working through it and taking care of what you can do better, and move on. And if because a lot of the times, and even back then, I wanted to fix everything else that was wrong, or state everything else, how unfair that was, or how unfair sometimes people treat you, and you want to fix them, or you want to gripe about them. And in my men's group, a gentleman grabbed me. He said, "Listen," he goes, "Dan, I hear all that. Fix yourself. What can you do? What can you do? What do you like doing? What's your next step? Fix yourself. Let's move on from this." And Joel, that was one of those things where uh I went through that because it was tough. It was tough. I ended up again, it was one of those things where it forced me into opening up a business. I started a company called Customer Link. It was a very successful company, but it would have never happened unless I had been laid off.
Mm.
And anyway, but it was the impact of that, still was to come. That worst day then of getting laid off, and what's the worst day of my life. As far as the career guys and family and just worry and anxiety, that had been pretty stressful, and it ended up being, once I settled down and put my nose to the grindstone and say, okay, hey, where do I move forward here? What do I need to do? What am I good at? Now, how do I focus this? The job's gone, it's over. Let's move on. And once I put my nose to the grindstone and let go of that and started focusing on, okay, what's next? That's when fixing the things that I needed to fix with, some of the anger, maybe, and some of the forgiveness that needed to happen, and to let go and move on. And then the next thing I know, the Customer Link came about, and that also prepared me for the news of cancer. It prepared me for that suffering, and because it doesn't matter, when you, because life is unfair, guys. I mean, as
Yep.
much as we believe in God, we have to understand Satan is thriving. Right? There are two choices in our paths. Heaven and hell, and both are for eternity, and we better be wise to that. And Satan doesn't want us to fix ourselves. He wants us to get in that pity party
Yep.
and stay angry at people, or say, why me? And it's their fault. They shouldn't have laid me. All that stuff. Why me cancer? But anyway, so that's where that whole fix myself. I still catch myself, where I have to remind myself, saying, hey, listen.
Mhm.
Slow down, Dan. It's you're going down the wrong path. Let's look at what we can control to fix,
Mhm.
and look at myself and say, okay, hey, what can I do to make this situation better? And uh, and I pray for that a lot. But it's I think that's an important chapter, Joel,
Mhm.
for just it's a good reminder every day that, hey. I wake up, I want to be strong. I want to be in the Word, but I also want to grow in my faith. But part of that growth comes in, getting better, fixing yourself, and that's sort of what that chapter, really I look back on. But it was not just sort of one thing, Joel, but that was just sort of a combination of things. But that chapter there is very important to me in my life.
Mm. Well, one of the things I was thinking of too is I know that cancer is kind of what inspired the journaling, but I realized, and actually on your weekly inspirations and the text messages you send me occasionally too, um, forwarding those on to friends, and it's kind of, I mean, it's inspirational. But the thing is that one of the things I was going to ask you is when you first, so you were like 3 days before you talked to anybody after you kind of got the diagnosis, right? So that, as far as me, that would like scare me because it's almost like one of those things in your like processing it. And you said you were Googling, and I had a friend, they told me too that they weren't really sure. And they said, don't Google it because then it makes it, compound bigger in your head and everything like that too. And so right now I do have a couple of family members and some friends that are going through cancer. And, I just hearing that word, it's, probably like a punch to the gut type of thing. But then when they say, okay, could be like stage 4, then that's so I'm kind of curious on that. And I know you kind of touched on this, those 3 days, but what would you like if you had that to do over again? Would you do it that way where you had that alone time? Do you think that really helped you? Or how do you
No,
know?
no, Joel, that 3 days happened, and I think it hurt. I mean, it
Yeah.
was hard because, I was with my son, I met my older daughter for a while,
Okay.
and, and it hurt. It was painful. It was
Yeah.
painful, but, uh, you know, the, what, and it was just geographically, I was in
Right.
Wichita to Lincoln, Nebraska. And then we finally got back home, but I think the biggest thing that I had no choice
Right.
in that matter. Obviously, my doctor's office didn't know that I was going to be gone,
Right.
and they had it was very time sensitive to them
Mhm.
with the test results coming back the way they did. They had to get me in so that they could get things moving to the biopsy, and all the other things that had to start happening. So they had to get me in as soon as possible. So I understood what they were doing, but my advice is there's a reason why we are surrounded, and we're not meant to handle these things alone. And as soon as I could, and the first person I knew I had consult with and talk with was my wife.
Right.
And I wasn't going to do it on the phone. I
Right.
couldn't do it on
Yeah.
the phone.
Yeah.
And because she was going to have to drive, and I didn't want, so I just wanted to be, there physically, face to face, and let her know. And of course, obviously, she's very, very supportive.
Mhm.
We didn't tell the younger kids there until we knew all the details of it. But I would never take the time. I would have, definitely been with her,
Mhm.
letting it out, because as it was amazing, the relief, or just knowing that, hey, okay, now I got my wife here.
Yeah.
She understands. And I'll never forget the meeting with my oncologist, Dr. Roseford, here at Highlands in Northwest Arkansas. Just he's been a true blessing. But I mean, it was bad, right? It was bad, but he comforted me and said, listen, he goes, somebody has survived every stage of cancer. He goes, we've got a plan. We are going to, it's aggressive cancer, but we've got an aggressive plan to attack it. And we've just, just, we're going to play offense. We're starting to play offense. And I'll never forget that. And I took a hold of that offensive playbook. Didn't understand all the chemo and all that stuff, but I that brought me some calmness that was needed. And then, like I said, sharing it with the men's group, after I shared it with the family. You know, and that was the biggest thing I think, Joel, is is you can't let the cancer within is obviously hearing about it and knowing that it's within you, but you've got to release it and get the ask for the prayers, and you we're use those that surround you, you know, and it's important, you know, that what I've learned is it's very, you know, it's very important to have that group, and you need to make sure you have that group before you get the diagnose, right? We're better, you know. It's one of those things where a gentleman told my son on his senior graduation, he goes, "Listen, Logan," he goes, "You show me your friends, I'll show you your future." And Joel, I thought about that because that was, you know, I was still battling some cancer at that time, and that really stuck to me. I mean, and I think in life it's more important for us as we get older. We will take a good inventory of our friends and our friendships, where we're investing our time, and it's because I couldn't have done this alone. I mean, I couldn't. I'm you know, I'm very blessed by the grace of God, but it's also those resources that He has put around me, and you know, a lot of that is the friends and family and their prayers and support, and you know, it's you know, it's you know, and Joel, it's, you know, I still go to I still got to take a bone treatment every 3 months. I get an injection every 6 months, and I take, you know, 4 pills a day. But when you're going through the chemo, it's just it's a very humbling room, you know, where there's just many people that are sick with cancer, and there's you know, I did some journaling while I was there, but most of the time I did a lot of praying, because you're just surrounded with that devastation of cancer, just and understanding that some of those people didn't have the faith or the support, and you know, it's that's depressing.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
A little bit, you kind of mentioned that you came from a small class. I was one of your classmates in that
Yes,
class,
sir.
and 44 was in our class. And how do you think, because I know you were very athletic, you're a football player. What else did you do in high school?
Well, I was in my senior year. I was blessed. We went to state in football, basketball, track, and we got second in state in baseball. And I was actually the only senior that played on all four sports. But it's one of those things that you know, Joel, the class was a special class, and you know, there was just I think there was just yeah. If you look back at our class, and there, you know, obviously we've had some loss and some sickness and health issues in our class, but we've also had a lot of people that have done very well successfully, and I think that goes back just to show, you know, the you know, it was just a special class. You know, I was much better at athletics than I was at English. And you know, the funny thing, Joel, is Lou Howell, you know, very special lady that taught us English and stuff. She actually was one of the proofreaders in the book. But
Oh, wow.
but yeah, and I'll never forget that, because man, that was one class I did struggle through. But she really helped me, and you know, Coach Winkler, our football coach, he checks in on me. And you know, I've always the lessons that I learned through football, you know, have been very important, And I told Coach Winkler just a couple of weeks ago, I said, you always taught us that the difference between pain and injury, you can play with pain. And you know what? We can live with pain as long as we have our faith. And in football, we were obviously small class but we had to, there's some weeks we had to play with pain.
Yep.
But
so you when we had our conversation a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned what was the guy's name that helped you with publish the book? What was his name?
Jeff Miller.
Jeff Miller. Okay. And you mentioned, will you share about, because you said it was 800,000 and then maybe up to 1 million words now. Tell me, what did he say about how many volumes that equaled?
Oh, he goes, I think we have enough for like 3 novels or something. It was 12 novels. Anyway, it was just a lot. It was, because fortunately, I just sort of saved it. I usually I didn't require a lot of sleep, so I just would do it on my phone and save the verses and just sort of pour my thoughts out and I just sort of collectively collected them, and then I just kept each week going to another one, and I just sent him the whole thing. And but we did combine some of them by topics and tried to make we tried to obviously cut it down, but it's I still do it to this day. I started with like those weekly text messages.
I love that. Yeah,
they go out to a lot of people. It takes me it probably takes me a little over an hour to text them all out. I don't want to streamline it. It's one of those things where I'm texting, some of it 2 or 3 on a group maybe, or some of it maybe 3 or 4, but when I text it, I just get to text it and I'm thinking of that person that week when I text it out. And it's one of those things, Joel. Hey, I'm sharing what the power of the Lord and power of the love of Jesus has done in my life. I am not preaching.
Right.
I'm love of Jesus. I'm not a preacher. I'm just a simple man that has gone through the deepest valley, and I am sharing how I've made it through it. And I think I've come out on the other side better. And I pray that there's something in those journals, in those chapters in that book, that can help others get through their deepest valley and come out better. And I'm blessed with a great church. I know the Holy Spirit's working within me, and I hope every day that I can in my walk that I'm showing it. I want to make sure I'm being it, but I also want to make sure that I'm walking the walk. And not always easy, Joel. We're broken. We're all broken. We're all sinners. But I know where to run. I know where to run. I know where to run every 3 months when I get my blood work. Because the cancer's still within me. It's just dormant. I want to keep it asleep, and every 3 months I get nervous.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that when you were talking about different areas that, I think of, well, I always say this, and it's, I say loneliness is the worst disease. Because I think that when people say maybe get a diagnosis and then they shelter themselves away from everybody else, that's really difficult. I don't know how people can handle it on their own. Like you were mentioning, going into the clinic when you're going in and getting chemo treatment. And, that's one of the things that you were truly blessed with, having a great support system in place before any of that even came down. And, I know that's a reason that a lot of us are blessed, is because we do have those support groups. and kind of like I shared with you about my health situation, and really like the doctors didn't give any hope that much, but I stuck with, my faith, family, and friends. And, but it was hard because I was away from everybody else, not by choice. But this is the thing I look at, and I look at all the, I know you like Billy Graham too.
Yes, yes,
I pay
yes.
attention to quite a few quotes from him, but and I think the book is awesome because there's so much in there that can really be an inspiration to other people and other parts of their lives. And it doesn't just, I ordered this just recently for a good friend of mine that's going through chemo right now. And, I'm hoping to get this video over to her right away too, because I think that is what I look at in your situation, because I'll just share real quick. Years ago, my grandmother, she was 83. She was a minister in a church, pastoring still at 83, very good health, got diagnosed with breast cancer, then had a massive stroke. And she ended up living for 10 more years. So she lived to be 93. But she was paralyzed on her left side. And I really had a lot of resentment towards God, because I was like, okay, she served you all these 60 years and she just wants to go home, and why don't you let her go, And so I'll never forget and I was with her in the nursing home. We were taking shifts, and in hospice came in, they explained the process of dying. But I remember after she passed away in the nursing home, and I had so many people in the nursing home, which was a Christian nursing home, actually. And I had so many people come up to me and said how much she had inspired them and helped them and prayed with them. And I thought, you know what? It made me realize that God's timing is not our timing. And it made me realize that bitterness that I had in my life, there was no need for it, because he wasn't done using her yet. And I had a friend that was in a car accident with 5 other ladies, and the one sitting next to her passed away. And they were going to a women's retreat. And I told her, I said, you know what? God's not done using you. That's why you made it through that car wreck. And I think that's the best. And it all goes back to attitude, our faith, and, being able to journal that. And you never thought that would ever be a book. And you didn't really want it to be a book, but that's the way that God used your whole experience to be able to help the other people. And even just like me, I appreciate that you did what you felt like you were needing to do. And I appreciate the book. I encourage, and I've got several different more copies, but I'm actually going to be sending out a couple more to some friends. But yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to share, or you can think of that?
Joel, we have to understand, like the in those moments, it's every morning we get up, there is a battle to be fought, and we have to understand that, and we have to surround ourselves. We have to put the armor of God on every day, because we don't always understand the reasons, right? We don't always understand the reasons why, some get, some don't, or some suffer more than some others, and there's always those questions, and we cannot let Satan and the evil that's around us. I mean, and especially in today's environment, we have to understand that we're all going to go through a deepest valley. We're all going to face trials, but you know what? There's a lot of joy out there, a lot of glory to be given, praise to be given to the Lord for the many blessings also. And we don't always see at that beginning of suffering. But I promise you, if you get up and put the armor of God on, and you fight the battle, you share your pains, you trust your faith, you will see the joy. And the last thing I'm still fighting the battles. And you know what? The cancer within me, I get that's a battle, but the cancer around us in today's environment, and the boldness of the evil that's out there is we've got to stand up and use our prayer. We got to do a lot of things with stick together in our faith, and we've got to we got to stand up for our faith and not be proud of it and share it, because I think if we share our stories, Joel, we all have those where we can share them, and I think that brings people together. It makes our faith together stronger, and that's very important that we share together. The power of the love of Jesus, and it's I mean, it's impacted my life. It's impacted my family. And I will have to say there, Joel, there is a second book coming. I have to.
Nice. I'm glad you
Well,
brought that up. Okay.
Well, I'm working on the intro, but it's because it's one of these things because I've kept on journaling, and there's a lot there, and I understand that these books have impacted some people, and the comments that I've gotten back, it's very humbling, and again, it's the glory's all God's. I'm just sharing, right? I'm sharing, and there's people help me share. But the new book will be Trust Your Faith, Share Your Pain, See the Joy. And it's what and I've asked this, it's funny how Satan can work sometimes, because he gets me questioning, why have I survived as I've watched people get diagnosed and die with cancer within 3 months, or I've had friends die of cancer that were diagnosed after me, and it's one of those things that you just you question a lot of things, but there's a lot of that going on, and I felt of course it's been 7 years, Joel, and as I feel as I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm writing better, even though the writings are better. But I feel the writings are better because I'm listening and more in tune to the Holy Spirit. I'm more in tune to my faith. I'm more in tune to listening. And so I feel the journals have gotten better as I've written them, but it's because of how you become stronger once you get out of the deepest valley and you understand what brought you out of that deepest valley. And so I'm a little more confident or more willing to write this next book. But so I'm humble, but I think it's going to be a good one. I really I want to stay out of that valley, right? I want to stay out of it. So this book will, it's part of the deepest valley, but it just talks more about trusting your faith, sharing the pains, and then we'll see the joy.
Repeat the title again.
Trust the faith, share the pain, see the joy.
Nice. Okay, cool.
You'll get one of the first ones before they get out on print.
Oh, I appreciate that. Wow. I guess it's a good thing I gave you a call a couple weeks ago, or vice versa. So.
Hey, it's good to be one of 44, right? We got to stick together.
Exactly. Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate your time today. It was inspirational to me. I got some, good use. I it wasn't like we were best buddies in high school, but just, and it had been a long time since we talked, probably from a reunion or something. But, a few weeks ago, I don't know, it was like that instant connection. And I knew that I had to share this. And I'm actually excited to get this out to classmates, because I think that, and this is the thing, you know, I hope you're okay if I say we're from Iowa. And I love the fact when I'm flying, which I fly a lot. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things when you say, oh, yeah, I grew up in Iowa, and then people have this preconceived notion. But what I look back on in my upbringing is that's basically my foundation. And I look back on the morals and ethics that we were all raised with. And I'm not saying other states don't have that. I'm just saying my environment that I was raised up under, that was what I was, you know, taught was morals and ethics. And I look back on, you know, I only went 4 years, but with at high school with you guys because we moved there. But I appreciate the fact that we can get together and it just picks up right where we left off at, you know. But you
No,
know,
it's Joel, I'm right there. That foundation is we are blessed, and you know what? People sort of laugh sometimes when I say there's only 44 in our graduating class. Man,
yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, me neither.
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yep.
And like you said, we might not all stay in contact. We're somewhat spread out, but man, we can pick it right up when we hook up. And I think I think that shows that foundation is strong, and it was you gotta love it, and I'm blessed. I look back to that, and it was I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it at all.
100% agree. All right. God bless. Looking forward to the next book, and we'll be doing this again.
Yes.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks. And God bless. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.